How's it going, guys? I'm Shifty Cow, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about the Rainbow Six Siege 3.3 patch notes. So if you guys do go on to enjoy the video, or you find it informative, be sure to hit that like button, and I'll be sure to make some more of these. But anyways, without any further shenanigans, let's hop right into it. So the 3.3 patch is expected to release on June 21st, or if you're watching this video on the day it comes out, today, which if you are, awesome. But anyways, the first thing that's going to be a huge difference is they've gone through and they've done some operator rebalancing. Not the first operators I would think that would need balancing, but hey, they did some operator balancing. So the first thing they did is Kapkan has gotten a pretty significant buff. First of all, that little screw that appeared behind every single one of his traps, and pretty much, in my opinion, made it completely useless, because it was incredibly obvious, and as soon as you started to look for it, you really, you never got hit by a Kapkan trap. They actually now removed that screw, and they also made the opacity of the actual laser a lot dimmer. It might actually be a little too dim, but we're just going to have to see how it plays out when the game actually, goes live with all these changes. Now, on top of that, they can also be placed at any height. So rather than being, just foot level like they were before, they could be placed up high, down low. They can really just be placed wherever, and that's going to add a little bit more unpredictability to where they're actually going to be at. So while I personally really don't like getting killed by traps, and I'm sure I'm just going to eat my own words, I'm pretty happy they actually are going back and rebalancing some of these guys, because to be completely honest, Kapkan was pretty garbage. As soon as people started to learn that he was actually a threat and knew to look for those little screws or, the laser sight, he was pretty easy to be countered, and you really didn't need any special operator to destroy it. So anyways, moving on to the next operator, Mute has actually seen an increase in his jamming range from 1.5 meters to 2.25 meters. And basically what this means is if you're in a drone, you're not going to be able to just jump over his little jammer like you were before. And this was probably one of my biggest problems with him. If you place down your jammer and you didn't have, say, a barricade over the top, a drone could pretty much just jump over and go down the hallway, and it really didn't stop them as much as it should have. So this is mainly for drones, and then on top of that, I'm not quite sure about this yet, but we're going to have to check it. You may actually be able to get 2 reinforced walls both jammed with just one of these on smaller ones, like say the airplane map. You may actually be able to get a 2-for-1, and that would be really cool, because I see a lot less people running Mute simply because either they think it's worthless or they'd rather go Bandit, and it's kind of cool to see that he's getting a bit of an upgrade and he might be a bit more of a viable option. So anyways, they actually gave some statistics on both of these operators. Kapkan had the second lowest pick rate. I can only assume the first was Tachanka, which sadly he's not really seen any upgrades or changes whatsoever. And then Mute had the 5th lowest pick rate. So they also gave some information about their KD being pretty low compared to other defenders. And while I can't really see this helping out Mute too much, because a bigger jammer isn't going to get him more kills or less deaths, but Kapkan on the other hand, I'm going to expect to see him just jack up in the amount of kills that he actually gets. So moving on, they also made it so if you team kill in a ranked game, it now actually leads to a ban. So the first offense is 15 minutes, second is 30 minutes, third is 2 hours, fourth is 24 hours, and fifth is 7 days of being banned from ranked play. Now, we still don't have any system like this in casual, which is kind of a bummer, and I wish they had something a little bit that was, kind of forgiving, but also would still punish people for, team killing, because it is a huge problem in casual, but hopefully they'll add something like that in a later patch. So they also did a bit of an upgrade for the renown boost, which a lot of people, I'm assuming, weren't using, because, a lot of people didn't want to pay extra money for a 50% increase in renown, and so they actually buffed this twice. So it was 50%, now it's 100%, so you're going to get double XP, and also the party boost is going to stay the same at 10%. So it's really not going to affect players who are not buying it, and it's more to just buff it up for people who are actually paying the money for it. So along with that, they finished with a lot of different bug fixes, and there were just tons of them, so I'm just going to read a couple that were, kind of important, or I thought were kind of cool that I've noticed in game. The first of which is that shield melees were pretty broken in favor of shield defenders. So apparently what you're supposed to be able to do is if you punch a shield or you melee a shield, it's going to break part of the shield or something like that. I'm not entirely sure how this works, but what was happening is if someone came up to knife the shield and the person with the shield knifed at, a similar or actually later time, they would still win that melee fight and they would get the kills. So they balanced that out so it's not, you know, completely biased towards the shield user. And that's pretty cool, and I think that's going to be very helpful. They also allowed cameras to no longer ID the enemy after they're destroyed. I know I use this a lot, where if someone shot a camera, I would still stay in it for a couple of seconds. That way it would ID and we would figure out what operators they had. That was pretty helpful, and that was obviously a bug, so they finally patched that. Also, they changed it so cameras can now all be one-shotted. There was a couple of occasions where if you had like your pistol and you were at a pretty decent range, you could get a hit marker on a camera. That's now been changed, and they're all going to get one-shotted by any weapon in the game. A lot of the reload animations and, you know, different misalignment errors when you were in the spectator mode or in the support mode, those have been hopefully fixed. Some things were happening where like a shield would be invisible if you were spectating someone, and obviously they had their shield, it was there when they saw it, but just from the support view, it wasn't there. Sometimes the animations would be off, sometimes certain things wouldn't happen, and so they've basically gone through, they fixed a lot of different animations with the L85 and a couple of shotguns. I'm sure there's more guns that have been affected, but those are just a couple that have been fixed. On top of that, you could also get your drone trapped in a floor reinforcement, which I actually never experienced, but they actually did fix that, and so that's kind of helpful. I know a couple of times I actually got stuck in a floor reinforcement, so I'm assuming that bug's gone by now, but who knows. They also fixed a couple of things with Valkyrie on her camera collisions. So what's supposed to happen is if you throw your drone at something like a box or, I don't know, a milk carton or a bowl of fruit, it's supposed to break whatever it hits, and then it's going to stick to the surface behind it. And so they finally readjusted that so it actually like sticks to what you throw it at. That's pretty cool. And then they also did a couple of exploit fixes where you could throw a couple of the Valkyrie cameras outside before the round even started, which, you know, can cause a lot of errors. But anyways, they also hammered out the white truck exploit, which I think they already patched, but this is kind of just a finishing patch. I think that was more of like a hotfix type thing. But anyways, that's now completely fixed, and apparently there also used to be a way to hop into a truck and then place down a Tachanka turret in it, and people were just going ham getting clips with that. But anyways, they finally fixed that, and then they also just had a ton of different visual glitches, spectator and support mode bug fixes, and all these different misaligning things that should have been working, and it's basically just a bunch of visual fixes. So anyways, that's pretty much it for patch 3.3. Like I said, if you guys did enjoy the video, be sure to leave a like down below. I will leave a link to a full list of patch notes down in the description below. But anyways, if you guys did enjoy the video, like, comment, subscribe. But until tomorrow, guys, stay buttery.